everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. And as always, we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have a lot to get to in the world of volleyball, such as Kansas State making a statement against TCU last week. Big win for the Wildcats. Also, how about USC pulling off a reverse sweep against Oregon at the Galen Center? Man, I wish I could have gone to that one, but hey, the women of Troy, could they possibly be hosting the NCAA tournament in the first two rounds? Also, the CIF State Regional Finals are this week, as I'll be previewing Division I and the ever-so-loving Open Division. And we have NJCAA Women's Volleyball news, as well as a little bit of CC2A action, and the Laguna Beach Open is this week as well. So hey, the volleyball, set for that. None of us favorite volleyball action here on Set Point. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 273 of Set Point. Without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Also, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. We definitely would appreciate it. We are nearing 300 subscribers, and we're trying to get to 500 by the end of November. And with your help, we can make that goal happen. Also, make sure to check us out on other podcast platforms such as Deezer, Spreaker, Podcast Addict, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, JioSaavn. The list goes on and on. And make sure to check out our website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our pages dedicated to each podcast, such as Set Point, our merchandise shop, where you can cop all sorts of sweaters, t-shirts, tank tops, and much more. And also make sure to check out our Hall of Fame, which I am a part of, and also check out our blog as well. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports teams around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Before we get on going to the volleyball action, we have to give a word to our sponsors, Plant Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. And so without any further delay, let's do this.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we are back. Make sure to check out our sponsors, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. We greatly appreciate them for being the official sponsors of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all of that sports. And the way you can follow Setpoint on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at set_point.ie, and on Instagram at set_point.iesr, and maybe Blue Sky once I get that set up. And you can follow me, the host, personally on Twitter, formerly known as, or now known as X, at Teran Rodriguez 1. And without any further delay, let us begin. So, as you can tell in my voice, I do not sound great. I am not 100%. Whatever I have in me it's now in my voice. I'm now stuffy and congested. But I promise you all, I'm not one to miss set point. I'm not going to miss set point unless I really have to. Like that one time back when I was in college where I just had a paper due and I barely got started on it. I just couldn't do the show that week. So yeah. So without any further delay, let us begin. So we have to start off with some NCAA women's volleyball as we are already in week 12. Well, we were in week 12, but now we are soon to be in week 13. So it was a little bit of a quiet week. There were a lot of possible upsets that could have been had, but unfortunately, there just weren't too many. So we have to start out on Tuesday. So Tuesday we had the only marquee matchup we had was Long Beach State playing UC San Diego, and the Beach was able to win that 1-4. Now I was going to go to this matchup, but unfortunately I had other plans, and unfortunately I was unable to. So yeah, Ralph Cleese pops in the chat room. He says, "Good evening, Teran, my man. Hope you're feeling better. Have a great show." Yeah, I'm feeling well enough to do things. My problem is that it's all in my head. All of the sickness is in my head, and maybe a little bit in here, but I digress. And Ralph says Pitt women's volleyball still number one. Yep, I will get to that in a little bit. But yeah, for last Tuesday, we had Long Beach State beating UC San Diego in 4. Now, that was a big win for the Beach just because it keeps them in the hunt to be in the Big West Women's Volleyball Championship or tournament, whichever you prefer to say. The correct vernacular is championships, but honestly, I call it the tournament just because tournament, you have to get through the tournament to make the championships. The championships are finals, in my opinion. Then Wednesday, we had number 12 Kansas taking down number 18 TCU in 4 sets. Now, that was a big bounce-back win for Kansas, as if you remember last week, or in Week 11, they had such a dreadful week where they just got flattened by Arizona State and Arizona. Okay, they didn't get flattened, but they just got beat, and that Arizona loss was unacceptable. So Kansas really needed to come up big this week, and they did so against TCU. Speaking of other teams from Kansas, Baylor, number 17 Baylor, took down Kansas State in 3 sets, which was not surprising at all. I had a feeling Baylor would kind of stand on top of business, so good job to the Bears for defeating Kansas State. Kansas State has just had such a dreadful season. It's been a season to forget if you're the Wildcats, but they're still going strong, and it doesn't look like they're going. I thought they would be like an overwhelming underdog or dark horse to make the NCAA tournament, but alas, that is just not the case. And then also we had UCLA sweeping Washington, and that was a big win for UCLA because, again, they needed to win that one. Otherwise, their odds of making the NCAA tournament would have been very slim. Jumping over to Thursday, we had number 2 Nebraska taking down number 16 Minnesota in 4 sets. Now, Minnesota, I kind of had a feeling they would challenge Nebraska, but Nebraska, when they play at the Bob or when they play in Lincoln, they're not losing at all, if not any sets. Now, for me, Nebraska, what isn't surprising is that Nebraska just continues to win. All they just do is win, which I think is incredible for them. They are a top 2 team. Them and Pitt can pretty much make the argument on who should be the number 1 overall seed for the tournament. So, in my opinion, Nebraska just continues to mow everybody down, and some are already billing Nebraska-Pitt for the national championship. But I say we still have to play through the tournament. Next up, we had number 6 Wisconsin sweeping number 23 USC. This was no surprise. I think there's a reason why the Big Ten Network put this match at 8 p.m. Eastern time, because I don't think anyone would want to see this matchup, just because I think we all knew Wisconsin was going to beat USC. And that's no disrespect to USC. Wisconsin was playing some darn good volleyball. They obviously have such great players like Sarah Franklin, Anna Smrek, Charlie Furbringer. The list goes on and on. So I think for Wisconsin, this was kind of no doubt they would win this one. Now for SC, I kind of expected them to at least crack 20 points in this match in any of the sets. They just didn't do that. They just kind of lied down. And I would not have been surprised if Brad Keller just didn't want to have a post-game interview, just because no one wants to be interviewed after a loss like that. Then we had number 7 Stanford sweeping Virginia, number 8 Purdue sweeping Rutgers, number 9 Arizona State sweeping West Virginia, number 20 Utah sweeping Houston, and number 24 BYU beating UCF in 4 sets. So that's pretty much that for all of the important matchups on Thursday. Doesn't look like there were too many other big-time matches or big-time notable results. So there you go. And then Friday, we had number 1 Pitt sweeping number 22 Florida State. I'm a little shocked that Pitt was able to sweep Florida State that easily, but Pitt's just playing on a whole other level. They and Nebraska are pretty much S tier in terms of NCAA women's volleyball. If any of you are like video game nerds or like nerds in general, there's a tier. There are tier lists. There's an S tier, which is like pretty much a God tier. A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, F tier, so on and so forth. So I know some of you, if there are any like Super Smash Bros. Brawl players or Super Smash Brothers players out there, just let me know. That's kind of what I kind of describe Pitt as. Pitt and Nebraska are both S tier. Anyway, so we had number 3 Louisville sweeping Duke, number 4 Penn State sweeping Illinois. I kind of expected a little more from Illinois. I thought Penn State was going to get a little bit more of a challenge, but Penn State being at Rec Hall, they were able to stand on business against the Fighting Illini. We had number 5 Creighton sweeping Seton Hall, number 7 Stanford sweeping Virginia Tech, number 10 SMU taking down Miami in 4. That was a nice little result for the Mustangs because Miami is no easy team to beat, and they've already got some good wins under their belts. Then we had number 11 Oregon taking down Northwestern in 4. Number 14 Texas swept Auburn as Auburn smashed its attendance record as they had 3,940. We had number 15 Georgia Tech sweeping Syracuse. Then we had the first upset of the week. We had Kansas State sweeping number 18 TCU. Now, normally Kansas State would be beating teams like Texas, but since Texas is in the SEC, Kansas State has to find a new team to pull the rug from under. So Kansas State beating TCU was a big surprise to me, but it was a pleasant surprise as Kansas State was able to pull off that win, and I was darn right impressed by Kansas State winning this one. Now, TCU, they're not by any means out of it. They're obviously going to make the NCAA tournament, but I doubt they're going to be hosting anytime soon. They're just going to they would have to run the table the rest of the way. I just don't see TCU doing that, especially since they lost to Kansas already. So this was kind of a pretty bad loss for them. But for TCU, all hope is not lost. The sun came up the day after, so yeah. Then we had number 19 Dayton sweeping St. Louis, number 21 Florida outlasting number 25 Missouri in 5. This was a fun matchup. Kennedy Martin went off for 32 kills, which is the program record at Florida. I was downright impressed with Florida after the Missouri forced the 5th set. They just pretty much ran away with that 5th set. It was just pure domination by the Gators. So, in all honesty, I was just impressed by Florida pretty much winning that 1 in 5. Now, Missouri, this is their first loss at home, but it doesn't mean they are a bad team. They are still a solid team, if you ask me. So, in my opinion, I think Florida just was the better team. And when you have a player like Kennedy Martin just booming down kill after kill after kill after kill after kill, that team is pretty much going to be winning more often than not. So, I think Florida was just on one. They definitely kind of needed this one just because if they lost, they might have been on the borderline of not being in the top 25. So, great match. That was probably the match of the night. That was a great win by Florida. And Missouri, they have nothing to hang their heads over. It's just that sometimes you just lose to the better team, who has probably one of the better players in the nation. And then I know people don't really want me to jump to the Big West, but I got to jump to the Big West as UC Santa Barbara pulled off a 5-set thriller against UC Irvine. Now, the takeaway for this matchup is this. Santa Barbara earned this one. They needed to win this one because if they had lost, their hopes of making the Big West Conference tournament might have been in jeopardy. So this was a clutch win by the Gauchos because if you remember the first meeting where they traveled to Irvine and lost in 4, they obviously were disappointed. They left a lot of meat on the bone, especially that 3rd set where they were up 10, and then they wound up losing that in overtime. Actually, no, I think they lost to 25-23. So regardless, the Gauchos got a little revenge over the Anteaters. Now, for UC Irvine, this was not a timely loss, and you're about to find out why this loss really is going to hurt them and how they really wish they could have had this one back because they need all the wins that they can get, and especially since that Big West Conference championship ticket race is so tight. So for Irvine, this was a tough loss for them. It's never easy to win at the Thunderdome, but I will give the Anteaters a lot of credit. They battled. It's just that Santa Barbara just had a little bit more in the tank. Then we had Cal Poly sweeping Cal State Fullerton. That wasn't surprising. And then we also had Hawaii sweeping Long Beach State. Now this was over by the time Pacific time people got to witness midnight, and for good reason. It was a strong win for Hawaii. Hawaii, obviously, they knew they needed to win these 2 matchups. They knew they needed to win to stay within grasp of winning the regular season Big West Conference Championship, as well as possibly being the number 1 seed of the tournament. And they were able to do so against Long Beach State. They cooled off Long Beach State and would have won 3 in a row. Now, for Long Beach State, this loss means that they're pretty much not going to be winning the regular season championship anytime soon, let alone getting the top seed. But it doesn't mean they are out of it. It just means that they're still just not at that level of beating a big team like Hawaii. And this scary thing is that this was Hawaii's probably down year where they had a lot of young players because they only have 2 seniors, which they actually honored the day after, and they're bringing back Kalen Alexander, barring nothing scary or drastic happens. But yeah, this Hawaii team is going to be something scary in the near future. Their only question mark will obviously be who's going to replace Ikanaga and Kate Legg. But overall, I feel that this Hawaii is just the type of team that never rebuilds. They reload and they just find ways to look dominant and feel dominant and just be dominant. And then jumping over to Saturday, we had number 2 Nebraska sweeping Indiana. Number 6 Wisconsin took down UCLA in 4 sets. Now you're probably wondering, well, how did UCLA take a set off of Wisconsin, but not USC? Well, Wisconsin actually had a few of its players out. Their libero was out, and they had to go deep within their bench. And then another player got hit in the face in warmups, so she was out too. Thankfully, Wisconsin had the one, the only Anna Smrek, who had a fantastic night for the Badgers. And this was kind of a nice little homecoming for Charlie Furbringer, as most of you might know. She's from California, growing up in Manhattan Beach, California. So, yeah, this was a nice little win for Wisconsin. Nice little two-game win streak on the West Coast. Does not mean they're guaranteed to win the Big West Conference, or not the Big West Conference, the Big Ten Conference. But I'm just going to say Wisconsin still is a threat. And I feel whoever draws them in the Elite Eight, man, you've got an uphill climb if I've ever seen one. Now for UCLA, this loss was expected, but it does not mean this is the end for them. They're 12-13, and obviously you have to be 500 or better to have at least a fighting chance to be in the NCAA tournament. They thankfully have 4 matches remaining. They've got Indiana, Illinois this week, and then they've got Iowa and Oregon. So obviously the match that concerns me is Oregon. They should beat Iowa fairly easily because it's at Pauley Pavilion. My only concern is Indiana and Illinois. Indiana is kind of that under-the-radar team that isn't bad, but they're not the greatest. And then same can be said for Illinois. Illinois, I think, has a fair chance at making the NCAA tournament. Now, even if UCLA goes 3-1 at the very best in their last few conference matches, that's no guarantee that they'll make the NCAA tournament. They still have to have the committee put them through. And being 3-5 at home does not help matters. Being under 500 in conference does not help matters. And the best UCLA can finish in terms of conference is 10-10. So, yeah, UCLA, they're going to be cutting it close in terms of making the NCAA tournament, let alone finishing 500. But, yeah, Wisconsin, they just stood on top of business, and Anna Smrek was the one that stood highly on top of business. Next up, we had number 9 Arizona State sweeping Cincinnati. We had number 12 Kansas sweeping Baylor. Very impressive week for Kansas. Nice little bounce back week. Now, if only they had this last week, because now they're in a big hole where they can't control their own destiny in terms of winning the Big 12. We had number 19 Dayton sweeping St. Louis. We had number 20 Utah outlasting UCF. They needed a reverse sweep to win. That was so big by the Utes winning in Orlando. That was such a big win for Utah winning. Because if they had lost, I could probably see them outside of the top 25. But yeah, Utah winning and coming back from being down 0-2 on the road, mind you, was fantabulistic. Then we had number 24 BYU sweeping Houston. Then we also had Hawaii sweeping UC San Diego on their senior night. Now, if you've been to a senior night in Hawaii, whether it's in men's volleyball or women's volleyball, they go all out. You got I think they have flower crowds, lays all over the place, you name it. This didn't disappoint. Hawaii women's volleyball did disappoint. The only sad thing is that Kanoa Leahy wasn't on the broadcast, but I imagine he had other duties, but I digress. But yeah, Hawaii was able to take down UC San Diego in straight sets, which I thought was pretty impressive. Another Big West Conference result was Cal Poly just demolishing UC Irvine. Now, unfortunately, UC Irvine now is in a big old pickle where they sadly are going to need a lot of help in order to making the Big West Conference tournament, and they also have to win out. And this week, they have Cal State Fullerton, which is no biggie, and then they've got Hawaii. They've got Hawaii to close out the end of the regular season, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. They still need other teams to lose out for them to swoop in and take the spot. This isn't going to be like last year where they got to move up in the conference tournament because UC San Diego wasn't eligible. This is going to be an uphill climb for UC Irvine to make the Big West Conference tournament. And it sucks because Irvine, I think, is such a sneaky good team. They've got lots of talent, and they're so much better than last year, which, believe it or not, they wound up making the NCAA tournament, and they had a ranked win. But this year, I feel they've kind of been a little underwhelming. And it sucks because I like UC Irvine. I like covering their matches. The Brent Event Center is a fantastic facility. But sadly, they just have not, met my expectations in terms of the Big West. Then we had UC Santa Barbara defeating Cal State Fullerton in 4. Kind of surprised the Titans took a set off the Gauchos, but, it's not a matter of how you start, it's how you finish. And as Paul Sunderland once said, you need to win 3 sets, not 1. So there you have it right there in terms of Saturday's notable matches. And then on Sunday, I guess we should get the Big West Conference match out of the way. Yeah, there was a Big West Conference match on Sunday, not Saturday, as UC Davis took down Bakersfield in straight sets. So Hawaii, Cal Poly, and UC Davis all have punched their ticket to the Big West Conference tournament. That means 3 spots are remaining, and 4 teams are hopeful to make it. Those 4 teams are Long Beach State, UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara, and UC Irvine. But Davis sweeping Bakersfield, that wasn't too surprising. No offense to Bakersfield. I know they have a win over UCSB, but I just felt that this was expected. And this puts Davis in a situation where they could still be the number 1 seed of the Big West Conference tournament, let alone win the regular season crown. But Hawaii does have a favorable schedule, and Davis, they're going to have to tightrope this, or they're going to have to play some darn good volleyball. All right, now for the important matches. We had number 1 Pitt sweeping Miami. Not too surprising, but honestly, this is number 1 Pitt that we're talking about. This is Pitt. Pitt is it. Then we had number 3 Louisville sweeping North Carolina. Number 4 Penn State beating Maryland in 4 sets. They dropped the second set after they won the first set, but stood on top of business the rest of the way. We had Creighton completing a perfect home regular season record as they swept Georgetown. They're the number 1 overall seed in the Big East tournament. I would not be surprised if Creighton wound up winning that one, or if they wound up winning, in my opinion. Then we had number 8 Purdue sweeping Illinois, number 10 SMU sweeping Florida State, number 13 Kentucky taking down Georgia in 4 sets. That was kind of a dogfight, no pun intended, to Georgia, but yeah, Kentucky really needed all that in a bag of chips in order to beat Georgia, because Georgia is pretty darn good. Now it's all on Kentucky to win out and win the SEC, but we'll see. We have number 14 Texas beating Alabama. We have number 15 Georgia Tech sweeping Boston College. Number 16 Minnesota taking down Michigan in 4 sets. And that was pretty much that. Oh, wait, we have the last ranked-on-ranked match and the last upset of last week. This was number 23 USC taking down number 11 Oregon in a reverse sweep. This was big. After Oregon had won the second set, I was like, okay. I don't think SC – I don't know if SC – this is looking too good for SC, but SC got a good start into the third set. They were able to hold on and win that third set. They were also able to hold on to win the fourth set against Oregon. In the fifth set, USC started off with a 3-0 lead. Oregon eventually tied it up. Oregon led 8-6 at the side switch. USC led 10-8 after a 4-0 run following the side switch. Then Oregon tied it up at 10-10, and eventually USC was able to win 16-14 after a kill from Ali Batenhorst. That was such a big win for USC just because, well, first and foremost, I do got to thank USC for winning, because I actually wound up winning a contest regarding my boy Daniel Gilman in 6 rotations. It was how many upsets will there be in terms of the unranked versus ranked unranked, or an unranked or a team ranked lower than a ranked team. In other words, how many upsets will there be in terms of NCAA women's volleyball in week 12? And no, unranked versus unranked matchups don't count. But USC was able to pull off the upset over Oregon, and I wound up winning me a 6 rotations jacket, which thank you, USC, and thank you, Kent State, as well. I normally am not really good at winning these contests, but I was able to do it. It's all thanks to USC. All right. Jokes aside, this was such a big win for USC. I think if they play their cards right, they could host in terms of the NCAA tournament. But that's a big if, just because USC has got a really tough week ahead of them. They've got Purdue, which Purdue also needs to win. But I swear, if USC hosts in the NCAA tournament, I promise you, I will be there. I don't care if I get fired from my grocery store job. I will be at the Galen Center. I don't care what it takes. Your boy, Teran Rodriguez, will go to the Galen Center for the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. Guarantee it. But USC, you got to host. You got to be in that top 16. If you do so, you know your boy is there. Anyway, so for Oregon, this was a very stinky loss. I mean, it's so tough to win at Galen Center, and it's tough to beat a team twice in one season. But man, you were up 2-0, and they had 5 errors outside, 5 non-hitting errors in the 5th set, and that's just a big oof right there. They basically had like service errors and like ball handling violations and all sorts of that other things, not hitting errors, just like just overall errors in general that aren't hitting errors. If you all catch my drift, if that makes any sense, I hope I'm explaining that correctly, because they had 5 errors that weren't hitting errors. There was either service errors or ball handling errors or anything of that sort. So there you go. Yeah, but Oregon, they might be playing with fire, because if they find a way to play themselves out of the top 16 in terms of hosting, that could get a little dicey for who they have to face and where they have to go. But I think Oregon should be fine in terms of hosting. I don't think they're going anywhere, so we'll see. All right, but that is that for the Week 12 recap. Oh. One more thing before we close the book on Week 12 of the NCAA Women's Volleyball Week, and it was a big this last little moment right here. It really kind of hit you in the feels, because I think this was on like Friday, if not it was either Friday or Saturday. It was a very heartwarming moment, as honestly, prepare to bust out your tissue boxes and whatnot. So this was, trying to find it. This actually was a Fun Belt Conference game, and it was a very fun moment. This was on November 15th, which was a Friday. It was Sienna DeCambra, who was serving for match point for Louisiana women's volleyball. And this was the senior night for Louisiana. And for those that don't know, Sienna actually suffered an ACL injury, or a knee injury, which unfortunately ended her season. But she was able to sub in and deal the walk-off service ace. And man, that was just absolutely amazing. great moment right there for Sienna. I have to give a set point salute to Sienna on dealing with walk-off service ace. Definitely do check it out. It was a storybook finish, and honestly, it made me feel a little teary-eyed. I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, that was a great moment right there. So that closes off week 12 of the NCAA women's volleyball season. So now let's go over the ABCA Top 25 Teraflex poll, and then we'll head to a commercial break where you don't have to hear my stuffy voice. So the top 10 is still the same. Nothing needs to be said. Oregon dropped a spot, or they dropped 2 spots. Kansas kind of went up to number 11. Pretty much most of the spots were the same. There weren't too many big jumpers other than USC, which wound up jumping all the way from number 23 all the way to 21. But yeah, no one dropped out, no big movements. So there you have it right there. That's kind of the top 25. Like I said, USC, if they get into that top 16 and they host in the NCAA tournament, you already know I'm there. All right, but yeah, that is pretty much that. Nothing too notable. Like I said, other than Oregon dropping 2 spots and Kansas going up and Kentucky going up, and Georgia Tech is still hanging on into that top 16 as well as Minnesota. Baylor's kind of on the outside looking in. Dayton as well, Utah as well, Florida as well. The list goes on and on. But yeah, we're only 2 weeks away from Selection Sunday of the NCAA Women's Volleyball Tournament. So with that being said, we're going to take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we've got some high school girls volleyball to discuss, as the CIF State Regional Final is this week, leading up to the CIF State Final. So keep it locked here. You are listening to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter, at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter. At any time, be happy to reply. Always willing to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernick, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
with segment number 2 of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as Sin City Sports with Cale Henderson and Chi-Town Weekly with Adam Karnick. Without any further delay, let us get back into the volleyball action. So we're going to be talking some girls volleyball as CIF state playoffs are still underway. And yeah, we have reached the regional final. So in terms of the CIF state regional finals, that is tomorrow as this recording. So in Division 1, I'm going to do Division 1 and I'll do Division or in the open division. I'm sorry to all the lower divisions. I don't want to shun you, but Division 1 and the open division is the big time. Not saying that Division 2 or below isn't the big time, but for time restraint purposes and for my voice, yeah. Anyway, so in terms of the regional finals, start with the NorCal bracket. We have number 5 Foothill taking on number 6 Redwood. This will be played at Foothill. All right, so Foothill was the 5 seed, as we all know, and their path to the final was as follows. They swept Christian Brothers in 5 sets. They took down Christian Brothers in 5 sets. They took down James Logan in 5 sets, and they took down the top seed Folsom in 4 sets. By the way, Christian Brothers was the 12 seed, and James Logan was the 4 seed. So now they are in the regional finals where they'll play Redwood, which swept Vacaville in straight sets. They swept Clovis, the 3 seed, and then they also swept Campolindo, the 10 seed. So, yeah, when it comes to the regional finals and state playoffs in CIF, anything can happen. So, look, this is the battle between the team that has pretty much swept everybody versus the team that has been battle-tested throughout every round, including beating the 4 seed and the 1 seed. So, look, it's so tough to gauge both of these teams, but you know what? I'm going to say Foothill wins. Yeah, it's time for my predictions on who will win the CIF regional finals in the Open Division and Division 1. So I got Foothill winning this one in a 5-setter. I think their 5-set experience in the state playoffs is really going to propel them to winning this one. And it's no knock against Redwood, but I feel that I feel Foothill being battle tested and then having the home court is really going to matter. But anything can happen, and I feel Foothill is just going to eke this one out in a 5-set barn burner. But Redwood has only lost 5 matches all season, while Foothill has lost 10. But they've won 29 matches, while Redwood has won 27. So now for the SoCal Regional Final in Division 1, we have number 4 Palos Verdes hosting number 10 Santa Margarita. So Santa Margarita's path to the final was rather eventful. They actually were on the road to take on Westview, beat them in 5. Then they beat number 2 seed Temecula Valley in 4 sets, even though Temecula Valley was missing one of its top players. And then this past weekend, I actually went to their match against Oaks Christian, which they actually hosted, but it was at J. Sarah High School because their gymnasium was not available to them, which really sucks. But hey, J. Sarah was able to help them out because that's what good people do. Anyway, but Santa Margarita was able to reverse sweep Oaks Christian. Now, Oaks Christian has a lot of good players. They've got Manaya Obechi, who is going to Nebraska. Her little sister, Messina, she was straight up great. Sadie Coker, now I kind of don't, actually don't know if she's a junior or if she is a senior, but if she's a junior, she's going to be a problem for teams going forward next year. But yes, she was phenomenal. She was great on the left side. I think she's a junior. So yeah, Sadie Coker is a junior and she's going to do great things. So yeah, but against Santa Margarita, they had some young stud players of their own, such as Ireland Real, who's 6'5", and she's really grown quite a bit. And as I said on Instagram, she's come up big time and time again. And then also an unsung hero was Kate Jackson, who had the second most kills by my count. She was amazing. And then Memphis Burnett, she's done great things. She really takes a lot of pressure off of Ireland Real. The setters were great, Roma Witowski and Marley Bemis. The list goes on and on for the Santa Margarita team. They're not as experienced as their past teams, but except for last year. Last year they were also young, but the past 2 years they've obviously been in a little bit of a rebuild stage. They're young, but this Santa Margarita team is dangerous. This Santa Margarita team is so talented. Like, their only big problem is that they start off really slow. It seems like they lose the first set more often than not. I heard parents clamoring saying, we always do really poor in the first set. Well, you kind of got to shift that if you want to be a team like Palos Verdes. Now, unfortunately, because because the match at JSerra between Santa Margarita and Oaks Christian was super long, I couldn't make it to Huntington Beach and Palos Verdes, where Palos Verdes swept Huntington Beach. Now, the first and third set were the close ones. Huntington Beach actually led, I think, 22-18 in that first set, and then Palos Verdes rallied back. And then I think they led 22-21 from what I was told. And then, unfortunately for Huntington Beach, Palos Verdes rallied to take that third set and the match. So, yeah, obviously the one leading the way was Casey DeMaria, I imagine. But it's not just her. They've got the LaBreche twins and Molly and Mallory. You've got Olivia Hirsch. And that's just to name a few. So it's not just Casey DeMaria willing this team to victory, even though it looks like it based on like her numbers, but it's the other players from behind the scenes that help get her the ball and help make this team go around. But yeah, Palos Verdes will be hosting Santa Margarita, and this one's going to be a barn burner. This one's going to be a fun matchup. It's a rematch from 3 weekends ago, when Palos Verdes ended Santa Margarita's Southern Section Championship run in the quarterfinals. Or actually, no, it was the semifinals. I'm sorry, it was the semifinals. But yeah, this one's going to be a fun one. It's so tough to really gauge on how both these teams are. I mean, I've seen both of them in action, but they have their flaws. They have their strengths. I know who their top players are. I just feel Palos Verdes is going to pull this one off. It's at Palos Verdes. Palos Verdes is more experienced, and I feel they're not going to have an answer for Casey DeMaria, and as well as some of the other top players on that team. But I feel that once Casey DeMaria gets it going, there's not a whole lot stopping the Stanford-bound senior. Now, Ireland Real will obviously get hers, as well as Memphis Burnett, and everyone is going to be keying in on DeMaria. But I think DeMaria, being so tall and so talented, she's going to find a way to bust through that block. So I hate to pick against Santa Margarita, and I will gladly eat my crow if Santa Margarita does lose, or if Santa Margarita does win and prove me as a liar. But I just think that experience is on Palos Verdes' side, and I just feel that that's a long trip up there, and I just feel that Palos Verdes is going to eke it out. I wouldn't be surprised if it went 5, though. If it goes 5, then I think Santa Margarita might have a shot. But if Palos Verdes can prevent that one to going 5, I think they got it. They got it made. Also, I will also just say, Palos Verdes has not lost a set in the CIF state playoffs. This was kind of the case in the Southern Section playoffs, where they had swept their first 3 opponents in the playoffs, and then they lost the first set to Santa Margarita in the third set after they won the first 2 sets. But yeah, I think Palos Verdes is going to stand on top of business. It certainly is not going to be easy. Palos Verdes is going to be getting Santa Margarita's best shot, and if I'm providing bulletin board material, so be it. But I just feel Palos Verdes is going to barely get the job done with Casey DeMaria having another monster game. So Mikey Two Guns pops into the chat room. He says, "Hey Teran, I've been slacking on keeping up with the latest in volleyball, so I'm here to get caught up. Thanks, Mikey." And he said he loved my interview with Katie Daly-Gavin. I appreciate that. It's always great to interview her. It's actually the first time I've covered a match for Santa Margarita, and I've seen a win because most of the times when I cover them, they're always on the wrong end of the spectrum. But thankfully for them, their season continues into the regional final. All right, but that is for Division 1. Now for the Open Division. Oh boy, this one is going to be a barn burner. So in the Open Division, we have in the NorCal Regional Final, number 5 seed Archbishop Mini taking on number 2 St. Francis. All right, so how Archbishop Mini got here? They swept 4 seed Meriden Catholic, and they swept the 8 seed Rockland, which Rockland was able to upset the number 1 seed Branson. Remember, I said don't be surprised if Branson doesn't make it to the regional final. Anyway, and then St. Francis was able to sweep St. Mary's in straight sets. That's a good St. Mary's team, if you ask me. And then St. Mary's was able to outlast 3 seed St. Ignatius College Prep in 5 sets in the regional semifinals. So we get the old school rivalry, Archbishop Mini versus St. Francis. This rivalry is probably old as time, as I've covered Archbishop Mini, and they returned a good amount of their players from last year. And obviously, John Wallace is a fantastic coach, the former Santa Clara women's volleyball coach that took the Broncos to the Elite Eight, or I'm sorry, not to the Elite Eight, the Final Four in 2000. I think it was in 2004, if not 2005. But regardless, John Wallace is coaching Archbishop Mini. Well, St. Francis, they're still as good as always. This is basically the equivalent of like USC versus UCLA, or for Mikey Two Goods' language, the Lakers versus the Celtics, in terms of like Northern California women's volleyball or Northern California girls volleyball. But look, this is going to be a great matchup. I love the matchup that Mini has against St. Francis. Mini obviously hasn't been eye-popping, but I will say Archbishop Mini is always as dominant as ever. There's not a whole lot of weaknesses. Again, they've returned most of their team. And then for St. Francis, they've lost to Archbishop Mini a couple times, which that kind of rubs me the wrong way. I feel this is going to be such a tough matchup for St. Francis, but St. Francis did beat Mini, so this is kind of the rubber match if we're not counting the tournament loss. But look, they beat Archbishop Mini. St. Francis beat Archbishop Mini at home, and then Mini got the better of them on the in the second round. Look, this is just so tough, but I gotta go with Archbishop Mini. Archbishop Mini plays its best volleyball in state. I will eat my crow, and I'll be the first to say congratulations to St. Francis on beating Archbishop Mini, but I think Archbishop Mini just has a lot more going for them. I think they are more battle-tested. I think Mini, when it comes to the regional finals and when it comes to like the state playoffs and all the chips are down on the table, Mini really plays their hearts out. So I like Mini in this matchup. I think they'll pull off the victory. I wouldn't be surprised if St. Francis won, but give me Archbishop Mini in a barn burner. I say this match is going 5 regardless, but I got Mini winning. And now for the other regional final, the SoCal regional final, Modern Day of Santa Ana playing at Cathedral Catholic of San Diego. All right, so these two teams that are meeting for the second time this season. The first time they met was in the Dave Mose tournament, where Cathedral Catholic won a thriller of a 3-set battle, best 2 out of 3, by the way. But that was when Modern Day did not have Wesley Madavau, and that was when Lily Ostavar was not 100%. So this one's going to be fun, and I wish this matchup wasn't in San Diego. This kind of really makes me wish that Modern Day was the 1 seed and not the 2 seed. But here's the thing. Modern Day has had to go 5 in both of their state playoff matches. They needed a reverse sweep to beat Torrey Pines, who was missing one of their top players. And then they needed 5 to beat Sierra Canyon, which needed 5 to beat Miracosta in the previous round. But look, Cathedral Catholic is going to be such a tough opponent for Modern Day. Obviously, Cathedral Catholic swept Los Alamitos the first round of state. They took down Redondo Union after they lost the first set. This is going to be very tough, but I really hate to do this to Juliana Kahn, but I got to go with Modern Day here. I feel Wesley Monteval is going to be the key difference. I feel Lily Ostavar is going to have herself a monster game. And a player to watch for, or at least two players to watch for, is Emma Kingston, who had a monster game against Cathedral Catholic last year when the two teams met in state. And then also Addison Cody, who is another middle blocker. So keep an eye on Modern Day's middle blockers. I think they're going to make the difference just because of their height and whatnot. And as long as they watch out for May Cordas and some of the other pin hitters that Cathedral Catholic has, I think they should be fine. And a big thing for Modern Day, if they can keep the ball away from the libero of Cathedral Catholic, I think Modern Day has this one made. Because they did such a great job of keeping the ball away from Lauren Lynch of Sierra Canyon in the Southern Section final. I don't know if that was the case last weekend, but if Modern Day can do that, Modern Day has it made. So give me Modern Day to win this one against Cathedral Catholic. It does my heart no good picking against Juliana Kahn, but I got the Monarchs winning this one, meaning we'll have a Monarchs versus Monarchs CIF state final. So there you go, right? There you go. That's going to do it for the high school girls volleyball portion. Oh, God, of course this would happen. But, of course, the glitch happened right when I was about to click off the banner. But, yeah, that's going to do it for the high school girls volleyball portion of the show. We're going to take one last commercial break. When we come back, we're going to preview Week 13 of the NCAA women's volleyball season. Keep it locked here. You are listening to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Calise, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate, diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports, and I will update you on all that's black and gold. Have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Calise, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
And welcome back to the last part of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as New York State of Sports, as well as the Yids Report with my boy Ralph Calise, who was kindly enough to be in the chat room. I really do appreciate it. Patty Bax pops into the chat room. She says, "Hi, Teran. I hope you're having a great show." Thank you, Patty. It means a lot that you were able to tune in. Can't wait to see what the MAC tournament has in store for us, especially for you being a Buffalo fan. But I digress. So, all right, let us close out the show with some more NCAA women's volleyball. So we have to talk about some Week 12 action. Not Week 12, Week 13 action. So this week starts some big matches in terms of seeding and automatic qualifiers, as we have some conference tournaments that are going to be happening this week. So it won't be starting on Tuesday. Actually, it will. We have the Summit League happening. We have Omaha and Kansas City facing one another, though I don't think Kansas City is anywhere near the top. South Dakota State, South Dakota is a sneaky good matchup. That's a good matchup right there, just because South Dakota made South Dakota State sweat in that first matchup. But now South Dakota is the home team, and South Dakota no longer has the pressure of being undefeated. Because remember, Minnesota, what was it? Minnesota State, the Jimmies. Either way, South Dakota State wound up losing their first match. They wound up losing their first match, which they no longer have the pressure of being undefeated and going undefeated. So there you have it. Oof, sorry. Let me calm down. All right, but yeah, there's Tuesday's matchups right there. Now we jump on over to Wednesday. Wednesday is where it gets really exciting. We have number 16 Minnesota taking on number 6 Wisconsin. All right, this one's going to be a fun one. First meeting, Wisconsin wound up losing at Minnesota in 5 sets. Now Wisconsin has a chance to right its wrongs. Hopefully, for Wisconsin's sake, they'll be at full strength, because if not, I can see Minnesota winning this one. But it's the battle of the border right here. It's going to be a barn burner, so expect a lot of fireworks. The next up, we have number 2 Nebraska at Iowa, Mississippi State at number 12 Kentucky. Kentucky needs all the SEC wins it can get. No excuses. Then we have number 17 Baylor hosting Texas Tech. Number 20 Florida is at Auburn. Number 22 TCU hosts Houston. And that is pretty much that in terms of the notable matchups on Wednesday. Then we jump to Thursday. This one's a fun one. Number 8 Purdue at number 4 Penn State. Now, Penn State beat him the first time around at Purdue. Let's see how Purdue can handle playing Penn State at Penn State. This one's going to be fun, and this one might have a lot of seeding purposes for both teams. And for Penn State, if it wants to have a shot at winning the Big Ten, they got to win this matchup first. Then we have number 9 Arizona State hosting Iowa State. Number 13 Oregon playing at Michigan State. If Oregon doesn't play its cards right, it could play itself out of the top 16. But I think Oregon is fine. They should be able to win a majority of their the majority of their remaining matches. Then we have number 19 Utah hosting West Virginia. Number 21 USC at Northwestern. That spells trap game right there, just because Northwestern's coach is a USC alum. So I expect Northwestern to come out swinging. We have number 24 BYU hosting Cincinnati, and that is that right there for Thursday's matchups. Then on Friday we have number 1 Pitt at Wake Forest. Yeah. Number 3 Louisville at Virginia. Yeah. Number 5 Creighton at DePaul. Yeah. Number 7 Stanford at Duke. Yeah. There's not too many ranked on ranked matchups, but we're getting there. We have number 10 SMU at NC State. We have number 14 Texas at Oklahoma. That's round 2 in the Red River rivalry, as Texas lost to Oklahoma at Texas. Let's see if Oklahoma can pick up another big win over the Longhorns. If that is the case, then we may have some questions about Texas and them hosting, but we'll see. Then we have a good ranked on ranked matchup. We have number 15 Georgia Tech at number 23 Florida State. Sorry, my computer screen's a little smudged. But yeah, Florida State, well, this isn't big for Florida State. It's big for Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech needs to win. They can't afford any upset losses. Otherwise, they will fall out of the top 16, which would mean that they would not be hosting the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. Now, I know that doesn't mean a whole lot, but not hosting and not having to travel will go a long way for certain teams. Next up, we have number 22 TCU hosting Texas Tech. And then number 25 Missouri is at Ole Miss to close off the ranked-on-ranked matchups. And that is pretty much that, unless I can find, unless there should be a Big West Conference, a big-time Big West Conference match on the slate for that night. It does not look like it, as all we have is CSUN at UC San Diego and Bakersfield at Long Beach State. So, yeah. Maybe there's some on Thursday. I'm double-checking all the Big West Conference matches just because, yeah, Big West Conference is live. Yeah, UC Santa Barbara, UC Davis is on Thursday. That's a big one just because Davis needs to win to stay in first place and have a shot at clinching the number 1 seed or the regular season title. Cal Poly is UC Riverside, but they also have Davis this week, so more on that a little bit later. And then Irvine has Cal State Fullerton at UC Irvine, which they should be able to stand on top of business right there. And then, all right, now we jump to Saturday. We have number 6 Wisconsin at number 2 Nebraska. Oh boy, we'll see if Nebraska can beat Wisconsin a second go around. But for Wisconsin, this is kind of their last gasp of possibly, hence the word possibly, winning the Big Ten. I mean, Wisconsin's going to need help along the way in terms of winning the Big Ten over Nebraska. But Wisconsin winning this matchup would be a big feather in their cap. Like, they'll probably be a top 8 seed, but I don't know if they'll be a top 4 seed. I think Creighton might still have a leg up on them, even though they haven't really played the best opponents, even though they scheduled really tough in the regular season, in the non-conference schedule. And then Stanford still has something to say to everybody, but Stanford still has something to say to Wisconsin, and then Louisville still has something to say to Wisconsin. So, yeah, Wisconsin would need Nebraska to pretty much lose a lot of games here and there in order for Wisconsin to be a top 4 seed. But I already can tell we're going to get a barn burner between the Badgers and the Huskers. And speaking of Big Ten barn burners, we have number 21 USC at number 8 Purdue. Now, on paper, I was thinking that USC wasn't going to win this match. But I feel USC has a good shot at beating Purdue. They beat them last year. If they could slow down Eva Hudson, as well as Chloe Chicoine and Raven Colvin and Lourdes Myers and all of those other talented players on Purdue, they may have a shot. Allie Beatonhorst can't carry the team by herself. They need all sorts of players to help push the weight. They need London Wajay, Mia Tuaniga, Favor, I don't know her last name, nor I'm not going to try to pronounce her last name. They need Adalia Falmuina. They need Gala Trubit to step up at libero. They need everybody to win, to play a part. If USC could play the Purdue like they did against Oregon in the final 3 sets of their home match, I think USC has a shot at beating Purdue. But certainly not going to be easy. Purdue is such a hostile environment, and for USC, I don't know if they have that little oomph to give them that big road win. But we'll see. Then we have number 9 Arizona State at Colorado, number 16 Minnesota at Iowa, or hosting Iowa, number 17 Baylor hosting Houston, number 18 Dayton is playing in the A-10 conference. They wound up winning the A-10 conference regular season title, but the regular season doesn't mean much just because you've got the A-10 conference tournament. And I would be shocked if Dayton lost in this tournament. If they lose in the A-10 conference tournament, I don't know if we could put them through into the. I mean, obviously they'll make the tournament just because they don't have too many bad losses, if any at all. But they don't have any flashy wins on their schedule. But we'll see. Then we have a nice little non-conference matchup. We have UCF playing at number 20 Florida. Now, here's the thing for UCF. I like UCF, but they just aren't the UCF that they were in the American Athletic Conference. This is kind of just a little bit of a rivalry match that Florida and UCF still like to schedule, but I digress in that regard. I still think it should be a nice little sneaky good match, but I just feel Florida's going to stand on business playing at the Swamp. And then number 24 BYU plays or hosts West Virginia. And then we jump to Sunday. Sunday we have number 1 Pitt playing at NC State. Number 3 Louisville playing at Virginia Tech. Number 4 Penn State hosts Washington. Could be a sneaky good matchup. That could be a trap game for Penn State, but I like Penn State's chances at Rec Hall. Then we have number 5 Creighton at Xavier. Number 7 Stanford at North Carolina. Number 10 SMU at Wake Forest. Number 11 Kansas at Kansas State. That is a sneaky good matchup just because Kansas and Kansas State had to go 5 the first go-around. But now let's see if Kansas can win in Lawrence, because they need all the wins they can get if they want to still have a chance to be Big 12 conference champions. If not, Arizona State's going to take that honor. Because remember, if Kansas and Arizona State were to tie for conference champions, Arizona State would get the automatic qualifier, which would make them most likely the higher seed. Next up, we have Arkansas at number 12, Kentucky. I don't know. This one kind of spells sneaky good game just because Arkansas is kind of in the range of they'll probably make the NCAA tournament, but I don't really like their chances like last year. I imagine Kentucky wants all the revenge on Arkansas, but we'll see. Number 13, Oregon is at Michigan State. Michigan is a lot better than they were last year. I would not be surprised if Michigan gave Oregon a run for their money, but I just feel that Oregon is going to be too much for the Wolverines. And then number 15, Georgia Tech is at Miami. That's going to be a fun one. If there is a non-ranked versus ranked matchup that's going to be very, 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 very fun, it's that matchup. Again, Georgia Tech needs all the wins that they can get. This is such a big week for the Yellow Jackets. They're on the road. They're playing 2 quality opponents, and one loss could bump them out of the top 16, which would mean they'd have to travel to play in the first 2 rounds. Then we have number 19, Utah hosting Cincinnati, number 23, Florida State hosting Clemson, and then number 25, Missouri at Mississippi State. And that is pretty much going to do it for all of the notable matchups, except on Saturday, there is the big matchup from the Big West Conference, which I forgot to make note of. There is there's Hawaii at UC Irvine, which I'm most likely going to be at if my nose wants to comply. And then there's Cal Poly at UC Davis. That is going to be a fun non-ranked versus non-ranked matchup. That is probably going to decide who's going to be the top seed of the Big West Conference tournament and who's not going to be the top seed, or who's going to be a top 2 seed in the Big West Conference tournament and who's going to be the 3 seed, because the 3 seed will play the 6 seed and then the 4 seed will play the 5 seed, but the 3 seed won't get a bye like the 1 and 2 seed. That's the big X factor right there. And Davis wants all the revenge against Cal Poly because Cal Poly ended Davis' season last year in the Big West Conference tournament. So I imagine Davis really wants to take advantage. And you got to remember that Cal Poly beat Davis 3 times last year and also spoiled their senior night last year. So, of course, this is going to be a big match for Davis. Davis really needs all of the wins that they can get, and they need all the motivation they can get in order to beat Cal Poly. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, this is going to be a fun little matchup right here. I think Davis-Cal Poly is going to be fun times. Again, I'm going to be at UC Irvine for UC Irvine Hawaii, even though the CIF state final in the open division is going to be that same day, and it's going to be at 6:30, which means I'm probably going to be bolting out of the Brent Event Center and then pretty much heading on over to Santiago Canyon College. So hopefully traffic isn't really going to be a pain in the neck, but I digress. All right, but that's going to do it for all of the notable Week 13 NCAA women's volleyball matches. Let me know if I missed any matches. And I know there are conference tournaments happening, but I don't want to go over that just because we're already an hour and 16 minutes into this recording, but I digress. All right, but veering away from NCAA women's volleyball, we have a little NJC AA women's volleyball news as Dallas College Eastfield wound up winning the NJC AA Division III championship over Minnesota West via a sweep, 25-16, 25-9, and 25-13. So congratulations to Dallas College Eastfield on winning that. So NJC AA is basically like junior colleges that aren't in the West Coast, which it's a good thing that Dallas College of Eastfield wound up winning that just because, well, Dallas can't seem to win a whole lot, especially with the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sorry to say. I had to make the joke. But, yeah, Dallas College of Eastfield winning the NJC AA championship is amazing. They finished a whopping 34-1. Their only loss came at the hands of Cowley County Community College. Yeah, Cowley County handed their only loss in a 3-0 loss on September 28th. God, try saying Cowley County Community College 3 straight times fast. But, yeah. They wound up ending the season on a 14-match win streak. They went a perfect undefeated at home. Perfect 12-0 at home. So, yeah, congratulations to Dallas College Eastfield for winning the NJC AA Women's Volleyball Division III Championship. And yes, I go over all sorts of volleyball, which, speaking of which, we're actually going to go over some 3C2A women's volleyball just because my alma mater, Orange Coast College, wound up winning the Orange Empire Conference, which it's been a long time coming for the Pirates in terms of women's volleyball. They're well known for men's volleyball, but not for women's volleyball. Well, no, okay, no, I wouldn't say that. They are well represented in women's volleyball, just not as much as men's volleyball as of late. But yeah, the brackets have been released for the 3C2A, in which, if my computer wants to load, I wasn't going to talk 3C2A just because, again, we're almost nearing 90 minutes, and I don't want to go too long just because, yeah, my nose says so, but the brackets have been released, and there's nothing here. Yeah, thanks, y'all. All right. Thanks for releasing a blank bracket. So there might be one more week of the 3C2A. I know I haven't done a good job of covering the 3C2A, but there are still some matches going on this week. There's a match going on today, which is nothing too special. It's Southwestern versus Santiago Canyon, which is going to be hosting the CIF state final, the state finals on Friday and on Saturday. And then, there's still one more week of the 3C2A in women's volleyball. I imagine the brackets are going to be released next week. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was released next Monday, and that made me sad face, but it is what it is. Anyway, but yeah, in terms of 3C2A women's volleyball, I'll be talking a little bit of that next week or whenever the bracket gets released. Also, this weekend is the Laguna Beach Open. That's not really an AVP tournament, but it's one of the longest running, if not the longest running tournament in terms of beach volleyball. Now, it's going to be so tough for me to attend that just because I've got a lot going on and I'm not 100%, but it doesn't matter. It's volleyball. I'm going to cover it. I might not be there for day one, which would be Saturday. I think qualifiers are on Friday, but I'm for sure going to do my best to be there on day two just because it's volleyball. It's going to be the last beach volleyball tournament there is in California for the calendar year, but we'll see what happens. And I think that is going to do it for this week's episode of Set Points. There were some other NCAA women's or NCAA men's volleyball colleges that have released their schedule, like UCLA. And then also Giving Day is tomorrow, for those that are wondering. So if you can, do what you can to help support your programs. I'll try my hardest to try to give to some of these programs. I can't give away too much just because, I got to save up to go to the First Point Convention or First Point Invitational. So there you have it. But I'll try my best to support those in need. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in and having to put up with my stuffy sounding self. I really do appreciate it. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. I swear week, if not the following week, I promise you. Trust me, I don't like not being 100% more than the next person. But for everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great rest of the week. Enjoy the volleyball action. And I will see you Friday at Santiago Canyon College for the CIF State Final in Division 1. And then I'll also see you Saturday at UC Irvine for UC Irvine, Hawaii, as well as Santiago Canyon College for the CIF State Open Division Final. Have a great rest of the week. Enjoy the volleyball action, and I will see you soon. Peace! Also, once again, thank you to USC and Kansas State for helping me win my little contest in terms of predicting how many upsets there will be in Week 12. Have a great night, everybody.
Yeah.